Today we have James Casey with us. Do you still remember your first session on the Para?
I was like, here we go. It's what this thing's for. Flap, 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 tangle, tangle, tangle. Winging and Parawing over FoilDrive is the throttle's always there. If it's just a finger squeeze away.
Just a little squirt.
No one will know.
You're getting paid to, just scream at them at the water. Put it down.
The whole idea was getting wingers into downwinding because the wing, they don't realize how bad it is to free wing downwind until they do it without.
If you're going out on the Parawing, do you have a board that you normally take out, or it varies a lot? And what about foils, man? What are the foils that you choose when you're Parawinging?
The surf wings, you accelerate out at every turn. Once you've got
Look
speed...
at that smile. Look at that smile. All right. Get out the checkbook.
This is what downwinding is all about. Prone board and surf front wing. I actually did a live sort of thing. It's on my YouTube, but I was just frothing out. I'm like, I'm gonna check that out. This is where it's at.
Welcome to the Lab Rat Foiler podcast. My name is Dan, and today we have James Casey with us, downwinder extraordinaire. James, we made it. We're here, man.
Yeah, we've been talking about it for a while. It's stoked to make it happen.
Yeah, we've lined it up for maybe 3 months now, and having dad life come in and out, we're like, oh, it's so hard to line things up, but I'm happy we made it. All the boys are at AWSI. And we're feeling the froth level here, but we get to have our own little froth session here about parawinging and learn about everything that you've experienced with the parawing, learn the potential of the parawing in downwinders. I know you've been using it a little bit during the races. You had a few cracks up there as well. Compare the parawing in wave riding to wing. So there's a lot to talk about. But before we get into the juicy stuff, let's learn a little bit about you. You have a very interesting background in sports, leading you into foiling and how you got into foiling. So where did it all start for you, man, from the beginning?
From the beginning, geez. I remember as a kid, so did my dad pulling me along the beach on a bodyboard, like a boogie board, just holding on the slick sand, the sandbank. Yep. And so pretty much grew up on the beach, and Mum and Dad both surf, so I learned to surf at a young age and got into heaps of sports, played soccer as a kid, then Aussie rules, then hockey, then rugby union, and sort of stayed playing rugby union until I was probably 22, 23, even 24, and played a bit of Sydney club level, and then got opportunity. Then throughout all that time, I was still surfing and did a bunch of surf comps, local board riders at Monavale, and got into a bit of stand-up paddleboarding just because small waves and crowded locations. The stand-up was just an option to catch more waves in lesser conditions and have more fun, which is I think resonates with a lot of foilers.
Oh yeah.
So got an opportunity to basically go to an event in Hawaii, the Sunset Beach Pro, on a stand-up surfboard, and made it through the trials to the main event, and pretty much haven't looked back at any other sport since then. On water sport, been all in on water sport since then, pretty much. I then went to a bunch of other events around the world, did a full stand-up surf world tour trip, and got into a bit of racing, and sort of found that the surf stuff is hard and takes a bit of luck, and it's hard to train for, and it's fun, but the racing you can put time in and you can get results. So I sort of gravitated towards that. The flat water stuff was never me. Really gravitated towards the surf racing, in and out through the waves, and downwind. And downwind was the most fun because you don't have to paddle back out. And Hawaii was the mecca. It still is for downwind, just not downwind SUP anymore. And yeah, pretty much just did all the SUP stuff, and then was over in Maui, met Alex Aguera, bought myself one of the first Go foils, and been foil-brained ever since. That was 2016, I think. It was one of the very first Go foils that left the factory, and it was frothing. Such perfect timing, and it was a very fun Aussie summer that year, and keeps getting better. The foiling, it's epic.
Yeah, every year we have something new to try. But what was your first discipline? Was it wave riding?
Yeah, SUP surfing, I guess, on the
Mm-hmm.
foil was the first, and we just at not Ka'a, but lowers at Kanaha, so like literally, a kilometer or 500 meters upwind,
Mm-hmm.
paddling into waves out there, and just absolutely like eating shit, just taking off and not having any idea. Like as it gets steeper, leaning back like you do when you
Oh
surf.
God.
There was no e-foils. There was no one even knew to tow behind a boat first.
Mm-hmm.
There was no wings. There was definitely no Parawings. There was
No
people were
YouTube
kiting.
videos explaining everything.
No YouTube videos. There was kite foiling, and that was
Yeah.
probably the best way to learn how foil worked. And I
Yeah.
kited. I kite surf, but I just never really liked the kite foiling because it was so like mowing the lawn. I guess it didn't really work so well in waves
Yeah.
for my skill set.
Mm-hmm.
The way I could kite foil, and the foils that were available at the time. So I was just into wave riding and straight into the surf on the SUP foil with the kai, and it was a fun experience. We didn't hurt ourselves, but we definitely like fell off. We were definitely off more than we were on. And
Yeah,
anytime
yeah.
we got lift, it was like a
Explosion.
3-second glide was like, oh my God, did you see that one? It was
That's
just,
so cool though, man. So
yeah.
early. And like you said, back in the day, it's just like discovering through trial and error. And then when did you get into like, all right, let's take this into downwinding and going a little bit longer distances, and how did that progression go from the wave riding to downwinding?
I think, I think it might have even been, I tried the downwind like 2016, like a Kai had done it on
Mm-hmm.
the Kai on the 10 or 12-foot chopped race board.
Yep.
And we had a race over in Western Australia. It was called the King of the Cut, and a SUP race. And Matt Nottage and I we were doing the race and we are training for that. And I brought the foil over because I was obsessed. So I tried to do a downwind run on I think it was a 7.4 by like 26 or something, like a SUP
Yep.
converted into a foil board like we all had back in the day. And I think I got up twice over a 4-kilometer stretch for a
Mm-hmm.
total of maybe 50 meters. Like just got up and just the foil was too small. Like in hindsight,
Yeah.
looking back at it, the lift was there, but I think even if I tried, I have one. I should try it. But if I tried to paddle up the Kai in conditions like that, I was just majorly underfoiled, and I sort of wrote it off as this, nah, you can't do it on that foil. And it took me until I got the first blue go foil, the Maliko, not the
Yep.
Maliko 200, but there was like one before that. And that was when it all clicked. Once as soon as I got that foil, I already knew how to downwind, and I was a strong SUP paddler doing the racing. So it was like once I was up, I wasn't efficient and I was working really hard, but I could just muscle it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it must have been 2017 sometime, but it was fun. Yeah,
Yeah.
I remember sending this video to Marcus and Kelly Margetts, who were working on the Sonova race boards at the time. I was using one of the first Sonova foil boards, and sent through the clip, and I didn't turn the audio off, and I had the GoPro on my mouth, and it was just like seriously breathing heavy. And like I said, I was just frothing. Look at these guys. Like, I remember Kelly saying, "Sounds like hard work, mate."
Yeah, I don't know about that.
Yeah.
It is, man. And like everybody now progressing into, I think a lot of people are getting into downwinding from winging, and trying new things. When did you first see the Parawing out in the wild? Do you remember the first time that you saw something released or something that was working close to what we have to today?
The Sam from Pocket Wing, right? He was
Yeah.
that was the first I saw of that. I actually spoke to my dad about it. Like, we'd done a downwind run over in northwest WA,
Mm-hmm.
and he was kiting and I was SUP foiling, and he really wanted to do it with me, and he was like,
That's cool.
"I tell you what we need." He's like, "I need a smaller kite with shorter lines,
Yeah.
like one of those ram air kites, like we have the Parawing. If I had that, I could do what you're doing, because like looks like one shot and going is easy." And I was like, "Yeah, that you're right." But he was always he used to shape surfboards back in the day, and he was a innovator, but he
Yep.
never wanted to do the work. So he said someone will do it, and sure enough, I think it was like probably 4 years later, 5 years later, maybe even more. It was like 2018 or something, so it was but the idea was obvious to him. It's like, yeah, this is what you need. He said it'll happen. Just wait. And
Is
sure
he
enough,
into the Parawinging now?
he actually passed away. He had
Oh, I'm so
brain
sorry
tumor.
about that.
Yeah, so he loved it. He would have loved foiling, and he was a big kiter. And yeah, I tried to get him out in the fall, but sort of he was deteriorating at that time and wasn't the best idea. But
Yeah.
he would have loved it. So he'd be frothing
Oh
above
yeah,
to see the
he's
Parawing.
laughing in the heavens right now, man.
That's it.
Looking at the Parawing for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Do you still remember your first session on the Para?
Absolutely. Yeah, it wasn't that long ago. Like it was. I'm pretty new to it. First session I borrowed a friend's BRM.
Mm-hmm.
The first Malika, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I guess it was the 4. That was the first. Was that the only size at the time, or there's probably more?
I think
sizes?
they launched a couple of sizes. I had the 4 here as well. That was my first one that I used.
Yeah, I used the 4. I remember flying it. I went down to the lake, Narrabeen Lake, in a northeaster. So it's maybe 15 knot gusts, but like 10 knots. It was pretty light.
Yeah.
So I took out my SUP and like my biggest foil, I think it was a 1540S,
Mm-hmm.
and went out and kind of like flew on the beach. It was plenty to fly it on the beach. You get out in the water, and it's like because you're drifting a little bit slower down, like a little bit downwind, lose all the power. I'm like, yeah. So I remember having it up, and I got a little bit of speed, and I literally like almost, you see those guys pump foils up without paddling on a SUP, but the trash bagger. I pretty much did that. Like I trash bagged it up, and because I had the power and a little bit to hold on, I got up and I was like, okay, this makes sense. Couldn't jibe. So every time I went to turn around, I was like, okay, got to figure that out. Yeah. But it was like, I think I had like a 30-minute session, and I got up like 5 times. Like, I got this. I was sweet. And so I sort of I'm like, okay, next time I'm going to go out in the ocean and on a downwind run, and I'll just use my normal gear and give it a crack. And completely humbled, I went out at Palm Beach, which is like the reason the Parawing is so good there. And I used to use my wing a lot. As I launched from Palm Beach, you got to sort of the line sucks to downwind, but you get like an extra 8Ks on our coastline. So if you can get out 3Ks, I used to always deflate my wing and then go downwind. So I'm like, with the Parawing, this is a no-brainer, right? I get out there, and the swell was pretty big, and the wind was strong. Like I had a small foil on my downwind board, had a paddle just in case it didn't work. I get out like sort of halfway to where I'd normally paddle to before I go. Throw the Parawing up, and it's good. Yeah, this will be sweet. But because the swells were so big, there'd be heaps of wind at the top and none at the bottom, and getting pushed in, and the swell was going a different direction to the wind.
Right.
So I was getting like I wanted to go that way, and in hindsight, I actually would have been better off trying to get up, going in the opposite direction, jibing and going back out, because the swell would have been helping. As I was going against swell, I wanted to get out. And it was just I got up like maybe twice, and then hit like seaweed, or like it just didn't have it fully together. Then came down and like fell on a blue bottle, stinging.
Oh God.
Freaking a million lines and a paddle, and I'm like stuff this. I just literally rolled it all up and put it, whatever I had. I think I had backpack. I just paddled out, and I had the worst line for my downwinder because I dicked around with the Parawing for like a kilometer, and I was way in off like the point.
Did
I'm
the
like,
opposite for you.
exact opposite of what I would have done otherwise. And I was like, man, and it scarred me for sure. I'm like, well, like the balance I was on, because a long skinny board makes sense, but not for the undulation and balance going with the swell versus across the swell because of the wind direction really mucked me up. So I kind of was scarred by that, and I was just borrowing it off a friend, so I gave it back to my mate June, and he's like, how'd you go? I'm like, I got it on the flat, need a bit of work in the ocean, but I can see how it works. I'll get one eventually. Sort of didn't really chase anything up, and then I messaged Felipe from Flow and got he sent me a D-Wing, a 4.2, and played around with it a bit. Kind of the beginning of this year, I guess, January, February. I must have been March, because I was down in Victoria, and I remember the session because I forgot my paddle.
Oh God.
We were caravanning, and like, so half the stuff was in the caravan and half the stuff's in the back of the car. I was actually down at your neck of the woods. We were in Mornington, and I can't remember the place we launched from, but it was an obvious. When you look at the map, it's obvious. And we got to the spot, and I'm like, I forgot my paddle. but I've got
Got
a
no
Parawing in
other
the back.
option now, man. You gotta go.
I have to, like, the wind is firing.
Yeah.
So, okay, if I can't do it today, I'll probably never do it.
Yeah.
And so I went out on like full downwind gear. Like I think I was like a prototype race foil, and I'm like, man, don't know. I had my phone on me, so worst case I could be picked up, and I figured whatever. I got up and literally, I think I got up and came down once and got up again and literally did the whole run. Like got up, stowed it, just held it in my hand, and then just went all the way downwinded. I actually overshot the mark because I've never done the run before. So I'm like, okay, I actually need to get back almost like sidewind.
Here we go.
I was like, here we go.
It's
what this thing's for.
Yeah.
So I got the Parawing literally straight back to where I need to be. And I'm like, man,
nice.
This thing's sick. And then I had a bunch of other sessions down in Torquay, and some were good, some were bad. It was slowly starting to click, but really up until Maui, I'd had probably 5 overpowered sessions, which were horrible, like absolutely
those are hard,
terrifying.
Yeah.
5 underpowered sessions, which just like, this sucks, and 5 good sessions. So I was like fully like in the lurch. I'm like, I don't know about this thing. I'd had those overpowered sessions of just either too big a foil or just too big a Parawing. It's only at the 4.
Yeah.
4.2, and somehow I didn't listen to enough of your podcast or listened to enough of advice on YouTube, but I didn't realize that flying off the front lines was like a way to depower it.
Yeah.
Because like I kite, like I know how to kite, but like there's a in and out on the kite. So like flying off the front lines, to me, I don't know. I just haven't kited for a while, obviously, but I was just like, it doesn't make sense to me. So, and like to depower it just puts it lower in the wind window. So when I was getting maxed out, I'm like,
oh, you're just like, how do you switch this thing off?
There's only one gear on this thing.
Yeah.
And it's either go or it's stop. And I remember over in Maui, I had the 4.2, and I saw Cynthia a couple of times. She was doing some sort of flat water paddle up stuff at Jeremy Riggs thing. And I was chatting. I'm like, I got a 4.2. She goes, you don't want a 4.2, not over here. I'm like, okay, so I waited to one of Tom Felipe's mate from Goldie brought over a 3 for me.
Oh yeah.
And it just like straight away clicked, and I understood I don't know. I think Cynthia told me or Tom told me, like, you just got to pull on the front lines and it'll depower it. And I was like, and then just fully opened it up for me. So yeah, which is why the conditions when it was overpowered, it was so crazy, because I was like holding it in the middle.
It would have been
and whenever I held
horrendous.
2 hands, it was like, that makes sense, but no one else is using 2 hands, seems like, but turns out they are. And I was just looking at the YouTube highlights, and so it's like, yeah,
everybody's already smashing it. You're like, how hard can it be?
Oh yeah, I was like, I spoke to Dave West about it, which obviously wasn't the best person to chat about it. And he sucked. Like I remember chatting to him, like, I don't know, just yeah. Anyway,
he had a tough time, but the conditions for him were the opposite. He had too little wind for most of his sessions.
Yeah, and I had a lot of those too, but.
Yeah, I think, look, light wind, and we were talking a little bit today before the podcast, like under 15 knots, I really don't even go out on the Parawing. I mean, it's really hard work. It's a really good time for you to learn stuff on the beach and do land drills, but on the water, I'm not really keen on like a 5-meter Parawing.
No.
I think the 4 is probably where I max out, and I'll be like my lightest condition quiver would be the 4 with a downwinder board and like an 1130 or something like that.
Yeah.
That's my biggest foil. So yeah, I would compensate on the board rather than getting a bigger Parawing, because the 5s are just enormous, man.
Well, even going like when I was in Maui, I was switching between the 3 and the 4.2, and the 3 was like so easy. Like it was amazing. Everything was so intuitive. Yeah. Like jibing, packing down, redeploying. It was just like, man, this is easy. Went back to the 4.2, and I was like, okay. Getting up's easier, but everything else is so much harder.
It's a truck, the lines are long.
Yeah, and just like jibing and freaking even you're overpowered sooner, and you know just packing away is just like, oh man, there's got more here and more here, and you just it was it's a windy, and I totally agree with you. 15 knots plus is the best, but I have been playing around with it lately here in Sydney, and I went out. Well, the sea breeze reader, the North Head reader, was saying it was like, I think, gusting to 15, and I'm like, oh, I don't know, but look, it was windy on the water, so it was windier out there than what it was at the reader, and I had a really good session in waves,
Nice.
which was cool. But then the wind died, which it was sort of mid morning, and the wind drops in sort of midday, and ended up having to catch up, well, paddle, stow and paddle in, basically catch a wave in. But yeah, so definitely, I'm coming up with a few plans for the light wind, because I love light wind, like wind sessions, and there's no doubt that once you're up, like winging, you can sail around in less than 15 knots. Like you can do it in 10. Even with a 4.2 and the right size foil. But it's just getting up, which is just a trick
Yeah,
of a thing.
it is. You have to be very patient with popping up. It's almost like you have a 100-meter runway that you slowly pick up speed. But then if you're out in the ocean with big swell, that's super hard to do.
So hard.
You don't have that runway. So keen to hear your thoughts on that. When you get that dialed in, let me know what you're doing with light wind. It'll open up my light wind over here as well.
Yeah. Well, the idea is just paddle into a wave and then pump around and throw it out. And that's like something you can't do with a wing, right? Like it's only good for waves. Or if you're paddling, you could flat water paddle up, or bump paddle up. If it's a lot of the times, actually, I've got a love-hate relationship with wind sports, which is a funny thing for people to hear me say, because they downwind they assume is wind sport, but to me, downwind is a swell sport.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, and the wind sport to me is like, if there's no wind, you're not doing it, and if there is wind, you are. And the foil has definitely blurred those lines. But the number of times I've been out there, and even like Parawing's now been grouped into that I've been out there thinking, this sucks, and that bump I can paddle up on if I had a paddle with me, is like, it's probably 50-50 for all my sessions, because I love the light wind sessions, because it's nicer, like reading. It's a nicer wave riding, basically. But yeah, I've had a few sessions lately where the wing is stuck, and I remember when the anchor man came out, I'm like, okay, well, I can dump the wing, and I can paddle into a wave and catch a few waves, and the wing's slowly going to drift in, and when it gets too close to waves or the shore, I'll pump over the wing and just take it in. The Parawing's even better, because you can just stash it, catch a wave. The wind comes up, throw it out. If it doesn't, just keep surfing. And I've the session, that sort of 10 to 15 knot session I had recently, the wind dropped. I knew the wind was dropping, but I'm like, oh, one more. And I'd sit out there thinking, okay, are there more waves coming that I can paddle into, or are there more gusts that I can Parawing start? And I was sort of sitting there, and I'd be kind of flirting with the takeoffs there, and I'm like, nah, it's a lull. Paddle out a little bit, see a bit of a gust coming, throw it up, get up and almost get going. And then just the gust disappears, and like, then a set comes, and I put it back away, paddle over to a wave, try to catch one. And it was just, and I was just doing this back and forth. And, you always, wherever you go, wherever you paddle to, the gust is like, you see a gust, and by the time you get it out, the gust is gone. It's like, put it back in. And then, so it was always a little bit off, but I'm like, this is a thing. And I think it's going to be like, it was pretty solid surf this day. So the chip in was hard, but, it was a fun, it just really opened my eyes to, what we can do with this thing. And I love that you can hedge your bets, because I'm big on that. Like, and you can't really do that, on any, like, you can, if it's windy, I'm good with the paddling. If it's not, I'm surfing. And that's a pretty cool thing. That
I like where you're going with it, because I mean, it's the first time. I think Dave mentioned something similar to me like that a little while back, where he was like, oh, I might do something in the waves as well, and chipping in. But depending on what you can do and your abilities on foil before you jump on a Parawing, so you know how to downwind, you know how to prone, you're like, well, it's easier for me to get up proning than learning how to do this on the para. And then you slowly get into learning how to get up on the Parawing. But to chip in on a wave prone and then pop up the Parawing, I'm yet to see someone do that. And I think it's a great idea, because then, you're up, you're pumping out, you can slowly bring it up, and then under 15 knots, you're riding away. Yeah. Because you don't need a 5 meter. You can use a 4 and you'll be fine.
That's it. Yeah. I mentioned it on my coaching call this is 2 days ago. Let's say last week, so 10 days ago. And one of my members sent me a surfline rewind clip of a guy who chipped in, pumped out, threw the Parawing up, and then did like a 3K sort of downwind run threw it out, put it back
Nice.
in, and went. I'm like, okay, like this is sick. And as we were talking about it in our call, and I'm like, this is good. I'm
Mm,
liking this. This is a whole new avenue, and it's blurring the lines of wind sports, and which I love, which is why wind sports and swell sports, I guess, which
yeah,
is cool. That excites me, I think, and
that's cool, man. That's the
yeah.
first time I heard about a successful person doing that, going downwind, and like,
I need to know. I should look who the name was, but 'cause I got to give him the credit. But Joe Rodriguez sent it to me. I'll see if I can find it. But yeah, it's super cool. Um,
and we're really, I mean, we're yet to see the full potential of the Parawing in waves. I think everybody talks about, yeah, like you don't have a wing when you're in the wave, which is amazing, but we're not seeing people rip on the Parawing on the wave yet. How was this session that you had on the para? How are you finding the stow? Because you like the stowing is really critical because you need to stow it quick to get in, the performing part of the wave. Are you catching the wave like way before and downwinding to the spot, like to the break, or how are you doing it?
Yeah, so I messaged you and I was looking at your YouTube tutorial of stashing the
Mm,
Parawing, and the issue that I've had with the wave riding is generally I'm looking to wave ride wind sports if it's like offshore or cross offshore,
mm-hmm.
and for Parawing it doesn't work so well as it compared to winging,
Yeah.
because when you're winging, you kind of want to like you know turn upwind into the peak to
Mm-hmm.
get as deep as you can, and it's rare that I'm coming from upwind because I probably then have to tack upwind to get
Yeah.
further, and then so the issue I've had is I'm most powered up just as I want to stash it, which is a big problem, right? So the way I've come to fix it is a messy way. um, there's two options. One, like you said, start further upwind and come down to the wave, which I do. And the first two or three waves I get are always pretty good because I'm
Mm-hmm.
usually coming from upwind and then finish back upwind. And then obviously the more you get, the more you end up downwind. And the end of my sessions, the last little bit, have always been messy, so I'm just, you're coming back up when you see a set, you're like, oh, I'm not going further past the peak. I just want this thing. And it's like,
Yeah.
get as far up as you can so you get as close to the peak. And then you're maxed out. You're like, I don't want to turn downwind because then I'm going to lose my positioning on the wave.
Mm.
So I've been just grabbing the front lines, pulling it in, grabbing the leading edge and just flap, 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 tangle, tangle, tangle,
Yeah.
wrap it all in, just put it in the hand, and then I ride the wave, and I
Mm-hmm.
think about everything else after, and I ride the wave as long as I can, and I normally try to throw it out and see what happens, just sort of it's kind of a roll of the
50-50. Here
dice.
we go.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And 90% of the time when I do that, it doesn't. It's a messy pack down, so it's just
Yeah,
gonna
it's tough.
it's a mess. But normally I pump away as far as I can from the waves. I'm not going to get cleaned up and
Mm.
sort of in the channeling sort of thing. And worst case, I just untangle, throw it back up and go again, which is still better than paddling back out
Mm-hmm.
to the takeoff spot and paddling into a wave. So that's been my take on it. But I sort of the frigate's got that front handle on the on the A lines,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm not sure if it'd fix it, because the problem is when we're going into the wave like that, like we would winging, it's all got to happen quick. Like we're
It's
literally
got to
at the
happen
breaking
super quick.
wave. We're at the breaking wave, so 15 seconds is half the wave. So if
Yeah.
I'm taking 15 seconds, then so the answer really is get further out, get further upwind, and it makes it easier, and it does make it easier. But like all of us, if there's a set coming through and no one's on it, I want to be on it. So I would
Yeah.
prefer to have a tangle, like a minute of untangling,
Mm.
than missing the wave.
Yeah, and I agree. I think it's cool for us to try to figure out how to lap the point break, not going and doing a downwinder with the swell and then getting to the performing area. I think it's a mix of gear and accessories that still have to evolve. I think shorter lines, I don't know if, I mean, like you row the 3 and you see how much easier it is to get to the Parawing. I think that for one is key. So a Parawing for wave riding. But then number 2, the belt is not the quickest way for you to stow. You have to have it in a little burrito before you put it in.
Yeah.
And I feel like there's accessories that we can come up with similar to this belt, but like in a vest kind of thing, where you just stash it, and you might even have your bar in the hand, but you
Yeah,
can still surf, and then that comes out. But you just kind of half stow it. It's a quick stow. Just get it away, but it
yeah,
still maintains the lines and the bar isolated, and that might work.
yeah. I'd love to get someone. I was out there with a winger last really good session, and it'd be hilarious watching me on the wave because I've got the Parawing and it's flapping. I got the bar under my arm, and I'm like trying to get it all. And
I got
I,
this.
yeah, I'm not sure if like because honestly, once it's in your hand in a ball, it's fine.
Yeah.
Maybe like you said, like like a zip,
Mm,
just like might be just to get the flap out of the way.
yeah.
The canopy. You could definitely just hold. Like I don't mind holding a bar. I don't even mind holding the whole thing as long as I've got
Mm.
it wrapped up in my hand. But yeah, the tangles are. I've tangled it every way.
Oh yeah,
It's
man.
yeah. It just you think you're sweet and you throw it up and it's it's all just it's amazing how many ways it can tangle with those lines.
Yeah, it's just so many bridles, and I think the more you do it, the better you get at it. I remember the first times that I started, I'm like, I'm never going to be able to not have a tangle on this. But like anything, you start to feel if it's a good or bad stow. And if it's a bad stow, you know that you might have to kick off the wave a little bit earlier, so you have a little bit more time to organize the thing, and you pull maybe one wing tip first and have a look at it. And like, I think the worst thing to do is to chuck it in front of you and hope for the best, because
Yeah,
when you do that, like you can't really see it. If it's in a ball in a mess, it'll still stay like that. So it's
yeah,
almost better to run your hands through the front lines again, and then that's kind of half of the battle done, and then you redeploy.
yeah.
um
Well, if you get your hands through the front lines, you're good. But normally, like it's you should seem like you can just imagine like you've literally grabbed the leading edge and it's folded itself. It's
yeah.
inverted, and you're just wrapping up like this. Like literally,
Mm.
sometimes I wrap it around my arm, just like
Oh
and
god.
just like everything, the whole thing. I'm like just wrap it around and freaking go, and like you haven't fallen with it. But normally, as long as it's my theory is as long as it's tight enough, like a
Yeah,
tight enough wrap, at least the water's not gonna. So I've
true.
had from kiting, like you can have serious like you can lose
Declawing, yeah.
limbs. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um. Yeah. So I haven't. I'm aware of that, but I'm also that's what that wave.
It's more about the way. And look,
Yeah.
I would sacrifice a proper redeploy to ride a wave that looks good. Who
Mm,
cares? It's like you
mm,
said, you're gonna spend a minute, getting set up again, and you're out. It's still quicker than proning.
yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
at least for me, because yeah, I'm not that proficient
Ah.
at proning. So like, I would take
Exactly.
a while to paddle out, position
Oh,
myself, get
and even
another
like
wave.
the waves that I'm parrowing in, like they're kind of shifty, bombing sort of style waves. So like to
Mm,
paddle in is very difficult. So if you get one, it's epic.
yeah,
So to yeah, just untangle and get back out there, it's minor. So
yeah.
that's almost half the problem. It's like, it doesn't matter. Let's keep doing this and I get more waves. But yeah, we'll get there. And I think, like you said, I think it's a little bit of equipment stuff, shorter lines will make it a lot easier. And I'm not the most methodical. Like I have to write a lot of stuff down, and like my online courses, it's like I wish I did this when I was learning because I just like go out there and figure it out and look
Hmm.
back at what I should have done.
Yep.
And yeah, the should have is yeah always better than the way I did it.
Oh, look, but again, like you did with the downwinding stuff in the beginning, you're learning with not that many information out there. There's not much information out there, especially
uh,
in waves. There's no one really ripping and doing like a proper stow. Like, even, the guys that are doing it well, sometimes you see like the parawing is just all over the place, and they're surviving the wave. Like, once we see a proper stow and people like using the potential of being on a smaller board, being on a smaller foil, that's going to be insane, man.
mm,
I spoke to Cash recently, and I can't wait to see
yeah,
him send on a wave and try to clear sections on the Parawing, see how far he can go, because he's just naturally going to be able to do so much straight
definitely.
away. Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't seen much like the wing, like you've got the wing depowered, and then you got the wing like the rhino slides they do with and the airs
Hmm.
they do. Do you think which is they've been always a bit away from what I've liked to do because it's like more sort of purist, I guess, and
Hmm.
never
More lines.
yeah, and drawing turns rather than, but also like riding like I'm surfing, not riding like I'm powered up.
Hmm.
I haven't seen too many guys riding a wave with the Parawing in the air,
I haven't either.
which probably for a reason, because the whole reason the Parawing is become a thing is because you can get rid of it. But
Hmm.
I think people will do it.
Oh,
People like,
100%.
yeah, it's
Powered up wave riding on the para will be a thing,
yeah,
and people will be doing front flips and back flips off the thing. You know,
yeah,
it's once because everybody's already doing it on the wing. For those kids to jump on and just like
mm,
send it on the para, it will be not that far from what they're doing now, but it
yeah,
is so much more dangerous with the Parawing because if you muck up and you fall into the Parawing, and I've done that on a downwind run. I tried to stow it. I did a deep power stow where you get all the lines, but I got blinded by it for a little while and I breached and I literally fell into the Parawing and then kind of like wrapped around my face. And I'm like, fuck,
mm,
this is how I die right now. And
yeah,
it was in Torquay with the snow. I'm like, fuck, I can't believe like, and I was tangled in it. And the more you move around, the more it wraps around you. It's a horrible sensation. So
mm,
I can't even imagine what that would feel like in the surf, like getting tumbled in a wave with it.
yeah, yeah. I've always been a little bit, I don't know how to feel. I feel about the like falling with a Parawing versus falling with a wing,
Mm,
because I haven't had a bad fall in waves with the Parawing, and I have with a wing. And like you just get fully stretched on the wing, right? Because the inflatable edge and the board's
yep.
the anchor with the foil at the other side. Whereas with the Parawing, I've had a wave catch it while I'm trying to get going, and I just let
Mm,
go,
yeah.
and like that's fine. But like you said, if you're not fully, depowered and you're still wrapping it up and you fall in it, I think it could be pretty nasty.
Yeah.
Like it could be, rope burns and oh, yeah, could be. It's a different kind of issue,
Hmm.
I guess.
Yeah, it's just something that it kind of it really just starts to hug you, and the lines get really like it starts to go around your like it's just a horrible
Yeah,
feeling, and
imagine the
that's
lions
when
going over it. Yeah,
yeah, look, it's not great, and then it starts to like just pick up a lot of water because it's just this water catcher, and then it's just pulling you, and it's not great. So I think in waves and riding powered, it can be done and it will be done, but God, it's gonna be a little sketchy to get a proper
yeah,
fall. And people will be riding with, kite knives, hopefully, because that's a thing.
yeah,
With the Parawing, you need it. Like you just grab the lines and you slice it and you're out. I think
yeah.
those safety procedures, it's hard because we don't practice them at all. When we need it,
No,
we're like, where is the kite knife? It's like you need to have that kind of reflex of going to wherever your kite knife is, grabbing it, and just sacrificing your gear for, to be able to get out of it. If you're
mm,
stuck on the inside and, getting sets on the head and you're like that, it's like, just get rid of it.
yeah, definitely. Yeah,
Um,
the old kite knives haven't really thought of that since kiting days, and
I know.
makes a lot of sense. For It's just like worst case. Like I don't think if you're not going near the waves and lighter conditions, I guess it's less likely, but it's still a chance.
Hmm.
Mm,
Yeah, look, the safety stuff, some of the belts are coming with kite knife pockets. So there's like, oh, what is this for? So people are like starting to think about it, which I
mm,
think is good. But like you said, we just need to be prepared for it, and I think practice it as well, because when you need it, you need to know where it is and how it works. But let's talk a little bit about downwinding, man, because I think personally, the next big wave of people coming into parawinging will be people who wing. So they know how to get on foil, they know how to ride a foil. Um, they go up and down, they go upwind, but now they want to learn how to go downwinding. And I feel personally that the parawing might be a quicker way for them to learn than learning how to paddle.
oh, for sure.
What are your views on that?
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. I think learning to downwind foil in good conditions is 100% easier on a Parawing than a paddle, especially if you've got that wind sports background, whether it be
Hmm.
winging or kite surfing or windsurfing. I think all those do help more than if you do all that and you then learn to paddle. It's like you've never paddled before. It's going to be a lot harder. And I say in good conditions because a lot of times people learn and it's not good conditions, and a
Yeah.
paddle will be better in all conditions
Hmm.
once you figure out how to use it. and a Parawing will probably be better in good conditions only. But as soon as it gets light to, to no wind, the paddle is like the Parawing seems useless. It is useless. It's just a hindrance. So the paddle's best for those times when the wind drops, and in some places it's not a concern.
Yeah.
You go to Maui, and I was there for 8 weeks, and it was literally windy I could have Parawinged every day, pretty much. Worst case on a big foil and a big Parawing, but like at some part of the day it was 15 knots.
Yeah.
And for at least an hour or two. Come home to Sydney, and the wind is 10 knots offshore in the morning, and then nothing in the middle of the day, and then right on dark it becomes 15 knots on and cross onshore. And there's all these little front, and then little sea breeze and land breeze and all this changing.
Messy, yeah.
And you're gonna have to, if you want a Parawing, you got to pick your moments, pick your forecast, and when it's good, if you get it good, you probably learn to Parawing pretty easily. And if you know how to stash and do the pumping downwind, it's going to be you skipping all that paddling and reading the bump thing. I think for me, coming from the paddling background, it taught me a lot of how to read bumps. And if you're coming from the wind sports background, where you kind of you mow on the lawn more or less, you're powered up, you've got this sail that's pulling you along, and there's these little bumps that sometimes they help you out, sometimes they don't. Because you're so 50-50, or even if you're 80-20 sail to swell, wind to swell, it's actually going to be harder for you to tap into that swell energy because you're so used to the power being there from the sail. Whereas with the paddle, the wind is the 20% and the swell is the 80%. So when you learn to paddle up, you're actually learning to read the bumps, which is the only reason I'm not fully sold on teaching with a Parawing, because they get up and they just pump. They don't know what they're doing. They don't know what they're looking for. Whereas at least with the paddle, they've learnt that if you don't have a good bump, you're not getting up. And that in itself teaches you a lot. But the pumping as well, when you paddle, you pump. Paddle in, pump down, paddle out, you're unweighting. Exactly the same as when we pump. With a Parawing, we discussed it actually, and it's actually back to front. You sheet in, and it depowers it, and you sheet out and it powers you up. So it's not teaching you the best way to generate your own speed through pumping. You're just too reliant on the wind is my issue with the Parawinging for learning. But when you compare it to winging, 100% better. Because with the wing, when you're downwind, you're managing what the wing does, and it blindfolds you, and it stops you from going one way, and it's heavy, and it drags, and sort of throws your balance out. You can't pump because this thing's sort of dragging you out. So if you can learn to Parawing, learn to stow, and then learn to generate your own speed through pumping and reading the bumps, reading the energy, Parawing's way better for learning to downwind than winging. And for getting up, the Parawing is way better, easier than getting up from the SUP with a paddle.
Yeah. I remember when I learned how to paddle, it took me a while, man. It took me I would go on 5-kilometer runs, and I would just float for an hour, and I would have 50-meter, runs, and I would be stoked. I'd be like, oh my God, this is happening. And now if I look back, I'm like, well, if I was with the Parawing, I would have gotten up maybe 10 times on that run, maybe fallen down after those 50 meters still, because I don't know how to read bumps, and I didn't know how to read bumps then. But the getting up is easier. And that's where I oh my God, when people approach me and they're like, oh, I bought a Parawing, I want to learn how to downwind. I'm like, man, that's great. If you know how to wing, all you need to do is really run your lines on the A lines, hold it like that. You don't have to stow it. Just hold it like that. Hold it, go downwind for as far as you can. And when you lose the energy, try to redeploy.
Yeah.
And if you fall down, you fall down. If you don't, great. And you have a little bit more of a session quicker.
Oh, for sure. The time on foil is where you learn. You're not learn. The problem with, I was chatting to one of my clients the other day about this, but the problem with learning to downwind foil with a SUP is you're nowhere near doing it until you can learn to paddle up. And that's most of the journey.
Yeah.
It can take you 100 sessions to learn to paddle up in bumps.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas if you do 100 sessions in wind on a Parawing, you'll be up. You'll
Oh,
be
you'll
getting
be
up.
up.
Yeah,
Even
you'll
if
be
you don't
getting
want
up.
to get up, something
Yeah,
will take you
you'll be
up.
up. You may
Yeah.
be out of control, but you'll be up.
Yeah.
So it's and that's the biggest thing. Like, I've originally downwind with the paddle was the only option, and then I remember when winging came along, and then the foil assist came along, and now the
Mm-hmm.
Parawing, and to me, actually the deflate downwinder was
Yeah, you were doing it super early, man.
yeah, I was, and it was all just situational. Like we did this run in a westerly, where we'd and actually John Messenger, the Nash dealer in Sydney, is, I got to credit him, because we used to wing upwind to from Palm Beach upwind to Flint and Steel,
Mm-hmm.
and there's this little like national park beach, and he used to go on to the sand and pack his wing up, put it in the backpack, and then go back out and paddle, do the downwind run. It's like a 4K run. And I'm like, why are you going on the beach? Just deflate it. And he's like, no, water could get into it, warranties, this, that, the other. I'm like, deflate it, just hold on to it, and it should be right. And the first time I did, I'm like, this is sick. This is so fun, So I was like, started doing longer ones, and I go a bit further, and then I.
But explain that a little bit, because you were doing it while foiling, which, to be honest, man, it's super hard to, like, even today, to imagine having a wing, deflating it, and just like, it's hard enough to stow a Parawing, and you were kind of doing that with a wing.
Same as the wing, man. No different. Yeah, it's the first time I think I did it was actually on an ocean run, and to be honest, it was easier on an ocean run because the bumps are better. Like compared to this bay run we do. Basically, I remember the first time I did it, was like, I'll just pull the pin. Like, just what's the worst that can happen? And I had a backpack and I had a paddle. So the worst that can happen was I'd come down, I just had to throw it in my backpack and I'd go.
Yeah.
It was just a way to get a run in, like shuttle upwind. And I was riding the bike a bit. I'm like, well, I kind of want to get better at winging and getting upwind a bit better. So why don't I just throw this thing on and then for that West Head run, the Flint and Steel run, the drive it's like a 2-hour round trip kind of, or it's like maybe an hour and a half round trip, and it's for 4 kilometers. Like, it's fully not worth it. Yeah. So like the wing was perfect because you literally punch it upwind, and then I was always trying to get maximum laps, so I'd deflate and go as far as I could. Then I'd pump it up. I'd either bring, so the first time I used a paddle, and I was like, this is too much gear. I got a bag, I got a paddle, I got a wing.
Yeah.
To be honest, I'm better off just bringing a pump in my backpack.
A little hand pump, like those small ones?
Just a normal kite pump, like just
oh god, that's
big
pretty
one.
big.
Yeah, but like it fits in the backpack, so it's like same as.
Yeah.
So I was like, I had that, and I was on my board, like it was a floater, but on my board, like literally the bottom was like on the board, and I'm like sitting on that, and I'm like, and it's actually so hard to pump up.
Oh, it's hard on land, man. It's imagine on the water.
It's a lot harder on the water, but it's a lot quicker doing it on the water than it is going back to, like, when you look at the map of what we're doing, you got to go back in. There's a bunch of seaweed and shallow seagrass. You got to go all the way in and pump back up, and then go back out. It's just and some gusty wind where you launch from. So it was better to stay out in the good bumps. And we actually went all the way out to the eastern tip of the Barrenjoey headland, and there's a little bit of a wind shadow right on the tip, so that it could be 30 knots, and right on the tip it's like glassy, and you sort of can pump up there, and it doesn't have to be like 8 psi. If it's 8, you get to 6 or 5, and it's enough to get up.
Whatever. Yeah,
you can get
it's
going.
not, you're not looking for performance. You just want to get up. Yeah,
just want to get up, get out of there. So I did that a few times. Then my mate Grant Perry said, I've seen you do this and it's ridiculous. Like, pumping up on the waters just seems stupid. He's like, why don't I develop this like CO2 canister that can pump your wing up? And so we did that, and we filmed it, and it was like, we broke the internet. Like, it was, I'll have to share the video, but it was like, it was pretty sick. Like, I deflated, downwinded for like 30 seconds to a minute for the video, and then literally I soda stream bottle, pressed the trigger, and it re-inflated the leading edge, and I then sailed along upwind.
Nice.
It was epic.
Nice.
And
so you kept the middle strut full of air.
The plan was to keep the middle strut.
Yeah.
but I accidentally didn't click it off. So it reinflated. It was just a 3.2 or something. So it
Yeah.
reinflated the whole thing. And we did that, and we took it to value and said, this is a thing. You guys should be thinking about doing this. And now they kind of like downwinding was still, it was pre-COVID, and downwinding wasn't really that big yet. And they're like, look, we like the idea, but we're just all our R&D's in another area right now, and good luck with it. But we don't want to help out.
Bit niche for us, mate. Thanks.
A little bit niche. And then the freaking Zephyr wing came out like sort of 2 years
Yeah.
later, and this whole deflate downwind thing became a thing. And my mate and Grant Perry, like, we were onto something. We knew we were onto something, but
Yep.
it was too early. And the whole idea of it, like developing and chatting to Grant about it, was he winged and he e-foiled, but he really wanted to downwind. And he saw it as a way that he could learn to downwind, and with the safety of the soda stream bottle to reinflate and get going again, so he could do a couple of attempts. The Parawing's a lot more, it makes a lot more sense, obviously, and I was so stoked when I saw this, because this is the essence of, the whole idea was getting wingers into downwinding, because the wing, they don't realize how bad it is to free wing downwind until they do it without. And I'm like, you don't even...
they always say that. Oh, the wing doesn't really bother me. I'm like, that's because you've never done it, man.
Yeah.
Like it's like turning down a window that had like full blacked out. You can actually look. You're like, oh my God.
Yeah.
It's so different.
Forced to go different angles. Like you've got a full scope of where to go. Whereas you're kind of railroaded into a certain line, even though it couldn't be on, isn't always on. You just get a full 180 degrees of options, whereas you kind of have 90 if you got a wing in your hand, and then you got to swap and to swap, and you got to time it with the bumps. And it's just, if anyone winging out there that wants to get into downwinding, get off the wing. There's better options.
The wing.
Yeah.
And I think those are the people that will learn the Parawing very quickly.
Yes.
It won't take long. You can even start with the gear that you have now.
Oh, exactly. Yeah.
Like with a wing, you might be a little bit overpoweed, but if you're going downwind, it's going to be fine, because it's actually not bad. It'll get you up, and then just get off of it, man. Because the thing I kind of struggled a lot with the paddle at first was my cardio, man. When I was able to pump up, I was already at 180, and then I had that tunnel vision already when I was trying to do the opposite of like, okay, what do I have to do now? And I was looking like 10 meters in front of me, and just that nervousness. And I followed a lot of the guys here in the Bay as well. Going through the same thing, and some of them trying the Parawing now because they know how to wing. It's just so more intuitive, because you can get onto that, all right, I'm going to learn how to read bumps moment
whilst up on foil with low heart rate, like paddling up it.
Yeah.
Like it's a sprint, no matter how you look at it. It's a sprint. Your heart rate's going to spike no matter what foil you're using. Once you're up and going, you can relax. But if you could only paddle up like once every 15, 20 minutes, you don't want to be relaxing. You want to be milking this opportunity for as much as you can.
Yeah.
And it just means your heart rate stays high, and you freak out, and you tunnel vision, and you make the wrong decisions. And that's the thing with winging, Parawinging, FoilDrive. You can get up, and getting up on foil is not the issue. It's staying up. And that's the fun part. And to me, the wing is the issue. It's in the way. The FoilDrive, it's great, but you've still got the pod on the mast. The Parawing is the most pure. It's actually like I actually love the Anchorman for the wing. And I've taught a lot with that Anchorman. My client will use the Anchorman, and I'll be on my SUP, and I'll pick up the wing, and then sort of sail back to them.
Yeah.
The Parawing's so much better for this, because they're up. They can stash it themselves, and they go downwind, and you're just, on your way. FoilDrive's great too, because the wind factor's taken out, but there's no doubt about it. You're having to manage your height. And when you're going through bumpy water and not understanding where the energy is, it can be tricky. And the beauty of winging and Parawing over FoilDrive is the throttle's always there. Like it's harder to self-discipline if it's just a finger squeeze away.
Just a little squirt. Just a little squirt.
No one will know. It's the same thing. Whereas the Parawing, it's like it's stashed, and you're holding on to it. It's like, look, if I'm in trouble here, it's a bit of a process to get it going. I got to line it up. If I'm in trouble with the FoilDrive, okay, I'm good.
Mm,
You know, so
yeah.
it's that mental thing. And it's self discipline, and it's a funny one because I've seen it. I'm like, I said,
You're
throw the
using it.
remote in your pocket. You don't
Yeah.
need it anymore. You know,
Yeah.
because once you're up high, you're good. When same with the Parawing, you know, once you're up, you're good.
Yeah, it's a good point. And when I mentioned, people can still hold it in their hands, I feel like they will go into that safety mode of just chucking it out all the time, chucking it out. And it could be something good to properly stow it, put it in the pouch, because there's something that you only learn, in my opinion, when you're really having to dig. And you know that when you're pumping the foil, but you're pumping it gently because you don't want to push through the water. Like if you don't get to those moments, you won't learn the way
Yeah,
to get out of that.
yeah. You've always say to people, look, you're using a FoilDrive, you're using a Parawing, you're using a wing. Why do you keep grabbing it before you stall out? Like, run it till the death. Run it
Mm-hmm.
till you stall out. Run it till you're back on the water, because you'll be back up and going
Yeah.
in under a minute. You know, so don't stress about getting up and going. If you're using the paddle, I understand. You know, you're
Mm-hmm.
gonna want to. You know, you're probably gonna want use the paddle because it will help you. Or
Yeah.
but if it isn't, like, the wingers always going along, ride a good bump. The bump kind of doubles up or splits up.
Yeah.
Instead of like riding out looking for a new one, grab the wing, sail along. Like,
Mm-hmm.
you'll never learn. You know, they always yelling at Clark, you'll never learn that way. Get rid of it. You know.
You're
Yeah.
getting paid to, just scream at them at the water. Put it down.
Yeah. I'm the discipline. That's what they hire me. Like,
Yeah.
you know.
It's the military. They like
Yeah.
the hard love, man. It's all good.
Yeah. They
Um,
need the
do you
need the
think
love.
that there's anything, James, that we need to consider if we are taking the Parawing out on the downwind run? No paddle, just the Parawing. It it is something that can get you in a sketchy situation sometimes.
For sure.
What do you need to make sure that you consider when you're doing a downwind run just with a Parawing?
Yeah. The biggest thing is, if you're new to it, keep the run short, and don't be going further offshore than you are willing to paddle in, because uh, yes, you can have your phone list, you can have your, walkie-talkie, your EPUB, all that sort of stuff, which I recommend. Bring all that stuff with you. But if you can be self-sufficient, that is the safest way
Mm-hmm.
to look after yourself. You know, if you go 3 kilometers offshore and the wind dies, are you willing to paddle back 3 kilometers back to shore? You know, and to be
Takes a
honest,
while. Yeah.
it takes a while, but with a Parawing, it's a lot better than with a wing. Let me tell you that, because the
Mm-hmm.
wing drags, and you can deflate a wing, but it's still so. But yeah, look, mobile phone. To be honest, VHF radio is probably more important, or as important as a mobile phone, I'd say, and an EPUB, and most of that stuff you don't even need. Like, you can fit in pockets, or your stash belt, or you know
Yeah.
whatever version you have. But a life jacket's good. Life jackets are a bit annoying with Parawing, because you
Mm.
can get tangled on little bits and pieces depending on what sort of life jacket you've got. But I still recommend it. I actually bump hat at the least. I think it's a
Mm.
really good thing, because you're out in the middle of the ocean. Yeah, it's just a soft Parawing. Your board and your foil is your biggest concern, and a life jacket keeps you afloat, but a helmet stops you from being knocked out, so you're not going to have to be floating upright.
Yeah.
So I think they're really important things. Obviously, I think that the kite line's a good one, but realistically, all that stuff that you bring on you for safety is only as good as, like, your awareness of where you are and your willingness to stay within your comfort zone and not get outside that.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, I'm a shocker for when it's light. It's like, I'll be windier further out to sea, and I'll get further and further out. And, like, I'm not sure about you, but everyone's got a good side and a bad side.
Mm-hmm.
And I will not get up on my bad side if it's like under 12 knots. And if it's under 12 knots, I'm normally, for whatever reason, it always seems like I'm going out to sea. And I'm like,
Gotta start.
just get one gust, I get
Yeah.
one gust. I never want to sit down and wait for a gust, because I think I'm always going to get going. I've had times where I'm like, off long reef headland, like a kilometer off the furthest tip that's already a K and a half offshore. I'll do one more gust, and luckily enough, I have gotten up. But recently I was out a long way, and, in a westerly, so an offshore breeze, and I had to pack away and I had to paddle in. and I was
1.5 Ks offshore.
probably 2.5 from the beach, but the
Wow, yeah.
headland was like a K and probably at
That's
least
a
a K.
decent paddle.
It was a good paddle. I was using a 85 liter board, so that helped. And I managed to, the closest bit of land was a little chip in, so I got a wave and foiled the last K and a half back in. But
Nice.
so that was lucky. But it's just, if you're not willing to paddle that far, don't go that far. You know, and
Yeah.
if you're stressed out there with no wind, you shouldn't be out there with wind. Is the best way to put it, I think. So the buddy system's a good one in theory, but I've been foiling enough.
How much does it work though?
It doesn't. Like, I've been foiling enough to know that it doesn't work on land. Sorry, on water, but it does work on land. So when you come in and they've come in and you haven't, they will see where you're at. And that's where walkie-talkie is good. If you're going to do buddy system, both of you need walkie-talkies because, or, you know, VHF radios, because no one's waiting for you if they're up on foil. They could be your best mate, but your best mate wants to beat you, you know? So, so don't rely on that person saving you. You know, I've been on lots of downwind runs, and to be honest, the thing I'm most afraid of is going in a big group in gnarly conditions, because I feel like I'm responsible for that entire group. I actually find it safer a lot of the time going by myself with my wife, sort of running land.
Tracking, yeah.
Yeah, because I know what I'm doing, and I'm not relying on anyone else to, you know, to not keep anyone else safe. So, it's been
it's such an interesting thing that kind of starts to happen once you start downwinding, that you start getting groups of people, and then there's certain people that you're okay going downwind, and there's certain people that are just hard work going downwind. Like, they never have their phone, they don't put a tracker on the group, and those, like, they hang down. Like, I don't know, I feel everyone's responsible for their own safety, and you just have to go out there imagining that there's no one else that's going to save you but yourself. I was doing a downwinder from St. Kilda to Rosebud, so we're crossing the bay, but I was doing it on the wing back in the day, and the wind died. I was with a mate, and like you said, in those situations, like, if he's still going, he's going to go. Like, he had to save himself, right? And it's better for him to go, get to land, and then call for help. And that's what ended up happening. But I was in the water for 3.5 hours, super underprepared, with no EPIRB, like all those things. That's the run that I learned that. And even though you're going with someone, you need to be able to save yourself. And if you feel comfortable with the gear that you have to do that, then I think you're kind of prepared for it. And in like light winds, a bigger Parawing won't work either. Like, it doesn't fly. So it doesn't matter if you have a 5, a 6, if it's like under 10 knots, man, you're going to maybe get a little bit of an assist going back to shore. The wind is in the right direction, but if it's not, it's tough. And I look at my board choice now as a safety device as well. Like, if I'm down the coast with the, you know, and Torquay and stuff, I normally go on my downwind board with a very tiny Parawing, which is kind of easy, you know, to stash and all that stuff. So I'll go with the 3 normal downwind board and whatever foil I want to go. But I have the board because the board is, you know, I'm not going to be going on a sinker if I feel the conditions are not there.
Yeah, and that's so important. And I wish we had this conversation earlier, because I did a run in Maui on a 3-meter wing. It was nuking on my 30-liter prone board, because I only brought my prone board and my downwind board. And once I was up, I was sweet. It was sick. You know, I was doing laps, and then I ended up going down to Kanaa, got to lift that back up. And I was playing around with some gear, and I went out and tried another bit of gear, and the wind on the outside, plenty of wind, but just the inside, just a little bit gustier and a little bit holier. And trying to get up, I just drifted further and further and further downwind towards the, you know, the water, the sewage sort of treatment plant, and the wind got less and less and less. And I finally got up, stubborn, like classic me, just ended up. But I did finally get up. But I was looking at a very long walk back, you know, and the wind had only dropped maybe 5 knots.
It's not
but
much.
5 knots is the difference between getting up on a sinker and not getting up on a sinker. Whereas if I brought up my downwind board, or even a neutral volume board, I'd have been up like almost straight away.
Yeah.
But you just need a pretty good gust for a 30-liter board. That's for
30
sure.
liter, man. That's I haven't gone that low. That's
There's not much advantage. There's not much.
Yeah, I was going to ask,
to
like,
40 or 50.
Not much.
the advantage was I had nothing in between a 105 and a 30. So
Must have felt pretty cool though.
I was sick. Like once you're up and going, it was like, and if it was super windy, I just ended up going after that session. I started taking the 4.2 because you only like to get up, you want to be overpowered, and you're riding downwind 99% of the time. So not really overpowered ever, and except when you want to be when you're getting up. So it was if you're using a really small board, go over. And I only really used a small board when it was like, I think it was like 20 to 25-ish plus. And that was like easy. And if it was only gusting to 20, I just took the SUP and it was easy. Sweet, no stress.
What's your go-to these days if you're going out on the Parawing? Do you have a board that you normally take out, or it varies a lot?
No, well, I guess after in Maui I had that 8-foot downwind board and my 5.1 mid length. It was only 30 liters, and that was too big in extremes. And I've now got an 85 liter. Actually, it's a new one that we've worked on with Sonova, and it's kind of an evolution of the Carver, and it's working really well. Still pros and cons to it. Like obviously the downwind board you're getting up earlier, and the prone board it's a bit nicer once you're up and going, but it's that middle ground, and I'm gonna
one quiver board.
Yeah, it's the one quiver board. I can suck like paddle into waves on it. It's like a sinker. Like my feet are wet, I guess, when I'm paddling onto a wave. But it's
what's your weight, James?
I'm 85 kilos, give or take.
Yeah, so 1 to 1. Yeah,
pretty much. So like neutral. I think if I was in Maui, the board I'd want would be like a 45 to 50 liter board. I think maybe up to 55, but the 60, the float gets a little weird. Like 60 to 70 for me, it's this weird like too buoyant, and I'm like my knees are under the water, but it's actually harder to balance from there than it is if my hips are under the water. So I think that sort of 60 and under is better than 60 to 80 for me. That buoyancy. It's like too corky to. It's like when I teach people to tow foil, I put them on a 15 liter or 20 liter board because they're going to sink it easy. They're standing on the board. Tray. Whereas if they're on a 40 liter wing board, it's a nightmare.
It keeps shooting out of
too much. Yeah. So.
And what about foils, man? What are the foils that you choose when you're parawinging? Do you go like, I'm just going to use whatever I use on a downwind run, or is it surfier? What do you go for?
Yeah, so in Hawaii, I was actually just using the race wings that I was using. I was using it Parawing as a training tool, and winging or parawinging like out 2 kilometers from Maliko. So you got to have bigger bumps, more open ocean channel like than the coast run, and that was super fun. Like good addition. It was just downwind board, and I just took my paddle with me sometimes, and would have stood that way, and then I ended up ditching the paddle because you're getting up so easy with the powering, and the wind was good. It wasn't a concern. But then after the racing, we had a few prototypes, and the 810X will probably be released now. When recording, it hasn't been, but the 810X is like the new surf foil, and it's epic because it's a surf foil. It doesn't glide quite as much between the bumps, but if you're out there parawinging in good downwind conditions, like we discussed earlier, parawing is best for good downwinders, and SUP is best for bad to good downwind conditions. The parawing with the 810X just is a perfect sort of marriage. It's good conditions because you're parawinging. I did a lot on that 5.1, that 30 liter board, and it was just like you're just surfing down the coast. I did a Kihei run, and the locals were calling it 11 out of 10, and I actually overshot the finish. I could have gone all the way around the corner to Big Beach. It was so good, but it was just like I was like actually did a little like live sort of thing. It's on my YouTube, but I was just frothing out, and I'm like, I'm
gonna check that out.
This is where it's at. Like this is what downwinding is all about, and the parawing and prone board and surf front wing. Like honestly, that was surfing down the coast. That's how we all got into downwind.
Yeah. Oh, look, I always liked your approach for downwinding and your advocacy of surfing bumps rather than racing bumps, even though you're a very successful racer. But I want to learn about this foil because When I'm downwinding, and if it's a day that I'm on an 800 foil, it's over 20 knots, so there's bumps, but the bumps are moving pretty fast. Like, how fast is that foil compared to like a higher
Yeah.
aspect foil?
I'd actually say it's really interesting. So I'd say it's quicker, or as quick
Wow. Okay.
as some of them, but it doesn't have the carry or momentum or glide that the race foils have. Now, basically, a higher aspect foil needs to get stiffness out of thickness, and a lower aspect foil has the stiffness because it's bigger chord, shorter span. So basically, you can make the mid aspect just as fast because it's thinner. So,
Gotcha.
but you don't have the glide. You don't have the carry. So if it's an example, I did a Parawing run, sort of. I guess it was on Maliko, and the first half was like it was okay. Like it was a good run. It wasn't the best ever. It was good race wing conditions.
Okay.
The bumps were pretty stretched out. It was a bit flatter. You could go fast, easy if you had a high aspect foil that had the glide and carry. On the A10X, it wasn't hard work, but it wasn't like it was a 6 or 7 out of 10. Like it was okay. Get to Kanaha, just off the reef there, and the wind kicks up, and the bumps double in size. Basically, like a big sort of just the wind picked up basically, and the conditions changed, and the current maybe changed as well. It was now wedgy and standing up like it was shoulder to head high, and all of a sudden the A10X just came alive. It was just like,
That's
this
crazy.
is the best thing ever. And I was chatting to Kai Thompson and Kane and all these guys after the run who were paddling it and like dialing in race wings. And I was like, how was that? Like, oh, the first half was sick, but the second half, man, that was hard. And I'm like, interesting. I actually went on this sort of more surf prototype, the A10X, and the first half was, man, I was just pumping a lot. Second half, I was just banking off, wedges and bowls and just like surfing. And it was so much fun. Like it was a high aspect foil. Race foils generally work better in flatter conditions, and a low aspect foil is going to work better in bigger, steeper, shorter period bumps.
Interesting. It's going to be insane for the Bay.
That's what I was thinking. That's for Melbourne. It's going to be like it should be perfect for it, because on the good days it should be perfect.
Yeah.
And then on the bad days, you're probably going to want bigger sizes.
All right. Get out the
Yeah.
checkbook. Do you change your riding style a little bit when you're riding it? Like the way you're riding the bumps to like, are you turning more on it? Like instead of going up and over and trying to like, gain speed that way, do you gain speed through turns, or what do you change with it?
It's kind of like the foils kind of sort of lock you into the style of riding that they like. Is how I sort of think about it. The high aspect race wings, they like going straight and finding a section where you don't have to turn too much. If you've got to maneuver too much, it's you're going to lose speed every time you turn. The surf wings, you accelerate out of every turn, and once you got
Look
speed,
at that smile. Look at that smile.
It's like they lean into what the carving,
Yeah.
But saying that, like I was using the surf wing in the lead up to some of the races, and I was seeing how quick it could go, because I didn't want to be just surfing the whole way down the run. And if I got a good bump, I'm like, okay, this is a fast one. This is the race bump I'm training for races. Let's see what this thing can do. And as long as the bump stays good, like it's as good as the race wing, as long as you can position yourself in the right spot, because it does squirt along pretty nicely. But if the bump deteriorates, or you go for a little up and over and it's a little flatter, you just got to work harder to get that link. Whereas the higher aspect race wings are going to just eat that up, fly through it.
So just glide through those lows.
Yeah.
Well, what sizes do the X comes in?
At the moment, it's just an 810, so it's just the one size, and it's definitely smaller than the 850. It kind of sits between the 850 and the 720, which the size would suggest.
Nice.
But it doesn't. The biggest difference is it doesn't pump as well as the S. And a lot of people are saying, "Oh, does it replace the S series?" And the answer is no. It rolls over better, it turns better, but it doesn't glide quite as well. So kind of like the S to the R, there's the S to the X. So it's more turning, less pumping.
Yeah. And what aspect ratio is like an 8, 8.5, something
I
like that?
don't know exactly, but it's in the eights. Yeah,
In the
because
eights.
the S is 9.5.
9.5,
Yeah,
9.6. Yeah.
yeah.
I tried when I was in Hood, some foils that were in the 10.5, 11 aspect ratio, and I loved them as well.
Mm.
Not as high aspect as a lot of the downwinding foils around the 13, but that aspect ratio for me was so interesting. It just felt slippier on the water. I'm like, oh my God, so efficient. So now I'm like, for the Bay, 100%. I think this X will be incredible. Short period, super pumpy, super surfy. But I'm yet to find my foil for ocean riding.
Mm.
I don't do it enough,
Yeah.
and for me, it's such a big change when I go down to Torquay and I go out with the boys. Like, and it's funny you mentioned that the A10 you can go just as fast, because I remember talking to Jared and he did it like a 1 minute 45 on a 720S or
Mm.
something.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, you would go faster with a 600R. Is it a 600R or a
Yeah,
680R?
that's a 600. Yeah.
Yeah. And he's like, I don't know, man, because I feel so stable on it. Like you have 100% confidence on the thing. Tell me a little bit about that, because in my mind, it doesn't make that much sense. You can still,
Yeah.
perform on them so well.
It kind of comes down to it's that section. So the section's thinner on the S series than it is the R. So a thinner section's going to run through the water nicer. And if conditions are really good and the bumps, you're always on a downhill, you don't need any glide or carry or momentum, and you just want top end speed. So being on an R, which has a different section because of the span compared to the S, which is slightly lower aspect, if you're sitting on that bump the whole time, you are going to go quicker on something that's lower aspect because you're always on a downhill. So if unless you're having to go up and over to sort of link the next bump, or you have to, or if the bump's going to outrun you, it'll actually outrun you quicker on a higher aspect foil
That's crazy.
than a lower aspect foil, which is crazy. As long as it's steep enough, it all depends on how steep a bump is. Because if it's a real flat sort of soft one versus a real steep peaky one, you're not losing it on a steep peaky one. Whereas on a flat one, you got to be able to create your own speed and carry that momentum. That's where the downwind racy foils whereas the really epic conditions, like, to be honest, if I don't know, maybe the Voyager race, or the Paddle-A-Mooar, like the Paddle-A-Mooar never because it's got the flat water pump, but the Voyager race could be one of those races that you could do better on a S than an R because of the big AD section. If you get a good Hawaii ice stretch as well, maybe that's not the best example, but like on a bay running for us here in Sydney, the Botany Bay run, you're better off on an S than an R in good conditions.
So cool. Yeah.
But that's the thing. The beauty of the R is if the wind drops off midway through the run, it's only a 3K fetch. So if the wind drops off, then you're still going to have fun and make it to the end. Whereas if the wind drops off, you're in a 720 or an 850, it's going to suck.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Dude, let's talk a little bit about the races since we're on that topic. The code team this year was insane. You guys have some new faces there. Some of the guys that I've been riding with a lot here, and seeing them do so well. Tell us about how the team went, man, in all those races.
Yeah, like we were happy with the results, but like none of us won, so there's always more work to do, But yeah, the Snows, or Jared in particular, but Adam too. Adam actually beat Jared in the Voyager race, which I think people forget, and I keep reminding Jared. The Snows did really well. Hobie Moss from Hawaii did really well. Alex Tibby from Sunshine Coast, Aussie boy, did really well. And Marcus, Ben, Dan, Trev, we had Jake and Hugh from WA, Hugh Mitchell. We had a really good showing. A lot of people supporting, that we're supporting as well, sort of showed up. And it was really cool to see because, the racing's getting competitive and everyone's keen to sort of push themselves. And that's the beauty of it, I think, is pushing yourselves to the limit and seeing what you can figure out. And it was cool to see everyone sort of do that. I think.
Go ahead.
I think just
finish that thought.
for me, the the biggest standout result was I think it was Jared at Maui to Molokai,
He was fifth,
and
wasn't he?
yeah, I think he was even close to whatever he came. He could have done two places better because
Oh, yeah, that close.
he came down. He like paddle pumped onto his foil towards the end, and then also Jared in Paddlemua. So I think our
Mm.
best results. I think we had maybe 3 or 4 top 10 results, and that was Jared. I think Alex Tibby did really well in M2M as well. But yeah, the whole team did awesome, and it was really cool to see um, everyone sort of step up and the whole foil world converging on that. The Rock Hawaii for the
Mm-hmm.
for the month of July, and it was it was a vibe for sure.
Yeah, from watching it from here, like my standout, but it's all. I mean, it's hard to not say Kane because the way he rides and the style that, like, how I saw. I think it was a clip from Larry Foiler that he posted. I think it was M to O. I can't remember. No, M to M. I think it was. Everybody started, and I think that Kane had a little wobble, and he touched down, and then he got back up. So everybody kind of passed him, and then there's this take where everybody's hunched forward, paddling, and he's like leaning back, like it looks like he's on a longboard, super high on his mast, and just like flogging everyone, going so fast. I'm gonna check that video, see if I can send it to you.
Mm.
What is it about his riding that is like giving him so much speed and performance without like being just that digging kind of fast pumping?
Yeah, I think
It's
Kane
crazy.
downwinds how we all want to. Like I think everyone looks at the the mast height that he's running at and the efficiency that he's getting from that. And that's to me the biggest standout. If you look back at any footage, is he is always about that much away from breaching. And if he's not, he's probably doing a down pump and he's about to unweight and get back to that much from breaching. He's just so efficient, and I think he just gets so many reps on the Malika run and plays around with
Mm-hmm.
height and plays around with equipment. And apparently his foils revert, like, so most foils have that sort of that reflex or camber on the bottom. He's got it on the
Mm-hmm.
top, so he can feel when he gets close to the surface, and that's apparently the secret sauce. But
Interesting.
you still have to make that work. And he was using also a really small, like he was using prototype stuff,
Yeah.
which as you'd expect, he's a foil designer himself, and
Mm-hmm.
worked for a few brands. It's he was definitely the standout. But you can't, like, Edo, credit to him, because Kane's been foiling for a lot longer than Edo.
Mm.
Edo's a beast, and after Paddlemua, I chatted to him and he was so deflated because he had a shocker. He came like 30th. And for him, that's like for everyone else. Everyone's stoked with, like, most people are stoked with 30th, but he won Voyager race, had a shocker, and then pulled it back together for the big one M2O. And I was stoked to see the battle. I think a lot of people were rooting for Kane, and I understand why, because he's so nice to watch. He's so smooth, but for like the physical and the direction that it's going, I love that
Mm.
it was like kind of one apiece, so to speak, and that
Mm-hmm.
Edo won the big one, but Kane won the overall. And I think that was a representation of uh, the, the downwind racing, the month, because I think Kane won Paddlemua and M2M,
Mm-hmm.
and Edo won Voyager and M2O. And I guess it's no coincidence that Edo lives on Oahu and
Yeah.
Kane lives on Maui.
Yeah.
So that was
Yeah. It
the
made me
other.
think about that style of riding that Kane has, and
Oh yeah,
he's using the swell to to its most potential to get that speed and not pump as much, not dig on the paddle as much. I love that. Absolutely love that.
yeah. He's not using it as much, but I tell you what, he's still using it a lot. And
Oh yeah.
like the biggest thing that stood out to me was the speed he's getting out of the downhills, and he's really, he's choosing his moment when to go, and he accelerates quickly on the
Mm.
downhills to get the speed to up and over. From looking at the footage, at least, because I didn't see him too often when I was racing with him, he wasn't ever pumping uphill very often. If he'd hit the uphill, he already had speed. So that's pretty interesting, And that's one of the things I was thinking about when I was over there is how do you recreate like being so powered up and going so fast? And I wing foil racing downwind or Parawing racing downwind sort of sprung to mind. I think you could probably use that as a get your 5.5 Parawing and just literally straight downwind. And I think that'd teach you where's the path of least resistance at those higher speeds.
That's interesting.
And I think, Jeffrey and Finn Spencer, they've got that background. Obviously, they're OG sort of downwind paddling guys. Groms when I was doing it, and now they're, in the early 20s and crushing it. Kai Thompson's the other one I got to mention. He's really put the time in, and it was honestly amazing to see his progression from last year to Perth racing to the Sydney race to the start of the month in June, July. I got over there in June. We did a few of the Maui local races, and he and I were close. Like we were within, I guess, one race we were like within 2 seconds of each other, and the other we were maybe a minute or two. Fast forward 3 weeks, and he puts like 10 minutes on me, for M2O. And obviously it's a longer race, but he improved a lot. And you have to credit to, he put the time in. He was over there since May, so learning the runs, learning the bumps, did a bunch of channel crossings, and he put the time in. And he's I'm frothing for the Grom. The Aussie boys. As I said to him, you got to try the Aussie flag, mate. It's good to see.
Sure.
Yeah.
No, it was cool. Like, and the coverage this year was like, it's getting so much better. I don't know how the boat situation has been sorted. Is it still like super intense with the boats or not? But
it's not sorted. It's got to be better. But I think that they're working. They're aware of it, and the best thing is they're listening, and they'll make it better. They're committed to it, and I feel like next year will be better again.
Yeah. We were calling it the sperm race here because the little dots on the screen were like little balls with little tails. They look like little sperms running around.
Yeah.
But it was cool. It was cool to follow. And congrats for the team. It was cool to see the Code Boys there, and I was quietly supporting the Snow Boys because I know them from here, and I'm like, fuck, these guys are ripping, man. It was cool to see Jared like mixing it up with everyone there.
Absolutely.
And I knew he was gonna do well, man, because he just he's an insane guy to watch ride in anything, man. I saw him on the kite, he rips. On the wing, he rips. On all he does now is SUP downwinding, but then you chuck him on a Parawing, he just rips. It's like there's nothing that kid can't do, man.
Yeah, he's spent a lot of time on the water, I feel like, and you can tell, and he's obviously he's talented, but I feel like he's worked at it. He's committed to his craft, which is cool.
100%.
Yeah.
We deviated a little bit from Parawinging, but my last question, man, to you.
Ask, while we're still on racing, Parawing wasn't in M2O this year.
Will it be next year?
I'd be surprised if it wasn't. It was for all the other races. But I guess my question more is, do you think Parawing racing will be sailing or downwind like we do with the paddle?
Man, if you put the name race on it, it'll be the fastest way to get from point A to point B, and it will turn into sailing. I mean, I interviewed John McCabe, and he won Padalemua on the Parawing. Very close with Gnarly Marley. Like, they were like 4 seconds from each other. And man, he was just on a 5 meter in like 30 knots going downwind.
Yeah, terrifying.
And it's insane. And look, there is merit to it, and it's a completely different sport. But personally, if I were to do a Parawing race, it wouldn't be a 30-kilometer downwind run. It would be maybe like a 5-kilometer course that you do laps. So you have to go upwind on the Parawing, you cross a buoy, you pack it down, and you go downwind as fast as you can. You can pump, but there's no paddle, which is kind of cool as well.
Yeah.
And then you redeploy it, and then you go back up, and you do that maybe 3 or 4 times, whatever, and then 20 kilometers, and that's a Parawing race. And it's cool because it's a course that you can actually watch from land, like spectator wise. You can look at a course race, and maybe it could be quite interesting to see that. But I'm not really interested in a Parawing race that you're just hammering down with the Parawing like hooked in and just like holding on. It's cool, but it's not what I feel the Parawings for, like in the purest sense.
It's not designed for
of
that
the word.
Yeah.
But if you put race on it, man, they'll
do it
just go
at all costs. Yeah. It's like the downwind, like M2O on the wing. It doesn't really reflect what most downwind wingers are doing. like at
Not
all.
at all.
Yeah.
No.
So I always had a bit of a hard time sort of understanding, I guess not its credibility, but how do we represent the downwind wingers or downwind parawingers if they're not just like, because you can't ban it. You can't say you can't use your sail because it's too easy to get, and it's too easy to bring up. But I think the course is the answer. Have laps, and this is the sail zone. This is the free ride, or
Yeah. Well, yeah, like and the cool thing about it is that you touch on all the points that the Parawing does. You need to go upwind well, you need to be able to sail well, you need to learn how to read bumps and go downwind fast. And I know that you've been always like trying to bring downwinding, SUP downwinding back to its roots of surfing. Like, how can we create a course where like you're penalized for pumping or using the paddle, or like all these ideas. And I think it's almost like not calling it a race, which sucks.
Seriously. Yeah, that's to me, a race is a bringing together of the community, and obviously it's nice to have a winner, and that's great. But the reason I bring that up is because I'm scared that if it's a parawing race, that's they won't have a community of the core parawings, because there'll be 4 or 5 guys that are literally using 5-6 meter parawings bombing downwind,
and they will all be wing racers.
Yeah.
Those are the guys that will win because they know how to race on the wing, and it's just a parawing now.
And then the crew that are like actually out there parawinging downwind, well, that doesn't represent me, so I'm not going to go to the race, and so I'm not going to turn up. I'm not going to support that, and then it kind of falls over, because then the person running the event hasn't captured the essence of it. So it's going to be like, that's the whole idea of that King of the Cutback I brought up years ago, and it's just, how do we, like, no one got into downwind foiling to do it as quick as possible. I guess
to be like 200 heart rate for an hour. No.
Yeah, like they got into it because they wanted to surf down the coast, and the more I downwind here at home, with the Parawing's awesome because I can actually extend my runs. Like I can do, one bit, then that was a fun bit. I'm going to go back upwind to that and do it again, and I'm going to keep going down. And there's a little wave in here. I'm going to catch a wave here, and normally I wouldn't when I'm with the paddle, because then it stuffs up my line for the rest of the run. But I can check the surf. I can go back out. In Maui, I was like, the family would be on the beach, and I'd parawing downwind, and I'd go back into the beach, wave at them, get a few waves, and then keep going down to the harbour. It was, and you're extending your water time without like limiting the fun that you're having. Whereas if you're extending the water time on the paddle, it becomes hard work. The angles, the edges just go straight downwind, or a couple of degrees off that. Whereas with the parawing, it's a bit of a dud zone and a bit of a lull. I came too far in. No issues. Back out to sea. Now I'm in the good section again. So it's cool. Yeah.
And how do you think the sport's going to grow, man, in the next couple of years? Parawinging, where do you think it's going to go?
Yeah, it's an interesting question. I think it's definitely going to eat into the winging market, and it's going to eat into the SUP sort of downwind market. But more than eat into it, I think it's going to grow it, the downwind sort of scene. I think there's still going to be those that want to paddle, because it opens up options, and it's kind of like a we can I think like the paddle's always going to be the purest downwind way to be doing things. But the beauty of the parawing is that you can mow the lawn, and the freestyle stuff. I've already seen a few guys like Bowles and Cash, and they're doing backflips already. Kyleni, they're already pushing the limits, and that's going to grow more and more. It's not really something that I'm interested in. I'm interested in. I'm in awe of them, but I don't comprehend what they're doing. It's like the freestyle stuff. I'm like, wow, that's impressive, but I'm happy with my gear in the water most of the time. But the downwind thing's going to blow up. And I really hope that it becomes it creates this downwind surfing, sort of style event, exhibition, whatever you want to call it. Like, it doesn't have to be a race, but it's going to really showcase why everyone got into downwind foiling. Not to pin the ears back and pump over bumps, but to ride the bump like a wave and do it along, stretch the coast. So that's what I'm excited about. But it will grow in every direction. The racing thing will grow off. The freestyle stuff will grow off. The wave riding stuff will go off. And the downwind thing will go off. And there's probably something in between there too.
Yeah. Well, I really hope this sport does you proud, man, because I think it's an easy one to stay true to, like having fun in the water and surfing with your mates. I feel like when I'm doing a downwind session on the Parawing, I hang out with the crew more.
Yeah.
We're closer. We're riding together. So if we're having fun out there, man, I think it's all good. Doesn't matter what you're on.
As long as there's wind, it doesn't matter.
As long as there's wind, yeah. Otherwise, and Cynthia has like a thing now that she's working on, a 3-piece paddle.
Yeah, awesome.
That you can, stow away a little bit easier. So the gear will get better. But I'm super stoked that you're into the sport, you're enjoying it, and we'd have to have a session together, man. When are you back to Melbourne? Anytime soon?
Yeah, I might be back down there in sort of March. Same as I was last year, or earlier this year. So
you're gonna do the clinic again?
Yeah, I'll try to line something up, but it's just I know it's a good time of year to be down there because the water's a bit warmer than what it is now.
Yeah, it's freezing, man. It's fun.
Yeah.
Well, look, thanks for coming on the podcast, James. Is there anything else you want to leave us with, or your talk down? You have to get back to dad duties now.
No, the kids are asleep. No, I'm working, and we've discussed it a little bit, but I'm working on a Parawing course in my sort of online sort of coaching,
That's right.
Coach Casey Club, and that's something that I originally spoke to you about it because I'm like, I feel like a fraud. I don't really do this, but I want to start working on it. And I kind of use my experiences as like a bit of a list of what I need to learn. And like I was saying before, go out there and I'll hack away at it. But if I look back and sit back and look, okay, what did I miss? What would I do? And, what would I do better? And I've started to create that list. And we've already got questions on the, weekly calls, Talkback Tuesday about Parawinging. So we're dissecting it already and looking at, what's possible. And there's actually a guy people are using 2 Parawings. So 2 3s is better than a 5, apparently.
Oh, wow. I love that.
So they're going out with like 1 in each hand, and I'm not sure how they're depowering, but I guess they just turn downwind and, one-handed.
Yeah.
It's tricky. I'd say trickier than the deflate wing downwind, personally.
That could be tricky, yeah.
Yeah, but apparently it's a thing. 2 3s is better than a 5.
I love that.
So it all is just kind of trying to keep my finger on the pulse, listen to your podcast, and Gav's doing a great job with reviewing stuff, and I've used the BRM Pioneer double skin, impressive for upwind, really impressive for upwind, but it's so exciting to see how this sport's going to evolve, and I feel like it's just the beginning. It's just going to get better and better, and if you think back to first how the first foils were, then how the first V1 downwind SUPs were, how the first wings were. Like, we are, a year in to Parawinging?
Yeah, we're just over a year now.
Yeah, so like the next couple of years, we're going to see a lot of improvements in the equipment, and it's already a pretty cool sport. So if you aren't doing it, get around it because it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, man, it's a big validation to have you keen on it. So it validates the sport. Truly does, man. When someone that of your caliber is choosing the Parawing, for some days, it's like, well, there's something there. So thanks for keeping, that openness to try new things. I think that's super important for the foiling community in general. So keep it up, man. And we'll do more of these when you're doing your backflip. Tell us how to do it.
When I can stow on an offshore wave and redeploy it. I'll let you know when I figure it out.
Good talking to you, man. Keep in touch, and thanks for the froth on the Parawing.
Nah, my pleasure, mate. Thanks for having me, and thanks for everything you do for the sport.
Cool, man. Talk soon.